What's going on, YouTube? This is Brandon Stoll here with Pebble Creek Outdoors, and welcome to another beautiful live stream in my garage. Today it is raining and kind of cold. Again, from Nebraska. It is par for the course in the month of June at times to get some of these cold, rainy days. Um, so today we got some pretty cool topic we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about landowner permissions and what I do to get land or permission to hunt, trap, fish, whatever, do stuff on land. So we're gonna kind of get into the weeds on that a little bit. If you guys are commenting, like I said, I've kind of got the table. I might have to push the table up so I can actually read your comments. If you guys get on here, we can get sidetracked a little bit, but we're not going to sidetrack too much off the main topic. So yeah. Anyway, before we get started with the show, first thing I want to say is, well, thank you for supporting the channel and doing everything you guys do, and that's really means a lot to me. And one of the ways you guys, if you guys can support the channel, like I said, I'm not a monetized YouTube channel. I don't make any money off of that. However, I have partnered up with Hunt Ready Holsters, and Ray with Hunt Ready Holsters is a really great company. I use his holsters exclusively for professional carry, as well as concealed carry, competition shooting, and hunting. That was really one of my big things. I shoot a standard 229 platform, have for years, in 6 hour, and I have a video inside the library there. If you guys look up Hunt Ready Holsters, the actual full video I did on these 3 holsters, and the reviews and what I thought, you can actually see me shoot them out of the holster. But I just like to show you guys these. They're just a really neat deal. Ray makes a really good blend of different kinds of holsters. Like, he has this very small inside waistband full Kydex. It's just a Kydex holster, very, very light, very form-fitted. It's probably not the most comfortable holster that he offers. Obviously, the inside waistbands that he has that are the hybrid version. It's a mixture of leather and Kydex, so you have that real good locking potential, locking capability with the Kydex. And this one here actually has the magazine holder as well, which is pretty nice. This one here, I'm smaller frame. As I've said before, if you're kind of a smaller guy, this may not be the way to go for the inside waistband. You may want to go with an outside waistband. If you're doing an open carry or a duty carry, or just doing some competition shooting or whatever. But it was a little bit too high profile for me in my waistband, just being honest with it. But for somebody who's a little bit bigger, doesn't weigh 150 pounds like I do, it's a perfect holster. The one I was really interested in is the outside waistband Hunter. This is what I've been using. I've got mud and dirt and grime all over it already, and I've been using it. And like I said before, the reason why I really like it is the retention system on it. Just the other day, so for Father's Day, I was out on the boat, had my sons out with me, ran this holster on the outside of my on the outside waist, out, open carry, and I was dragging my boat and winching it up over top of a creek. It was pretty awesome. We just did this long, like 10-mile journey with the boat, and I was crawling through the weeds and the dirt and falling down the bank, and basically I was really running it through its paces, just getting my weapon, just completely covered, which I'm going to end up cleaning a little bit better here today. But just to, run it through its paces. I fell on it once, didn't break, nothing. It's a super, super solid holster, and it's very, very adjustable. And you can get these for, I think it's the 1.5 and the 2-inch, and I don't know, other kinds of belt loops. If you guys like wearing tactical belts, or you like wearing a standard 1.5 like I do, it's set up for that. I think, and he does that with pretty much all of his holsters here. Very, very customizable. Like I said, for the combo, you can run like if you want to do a magazine or if you want to do a Gerber tool or anything like that, like he can do that. Um, and so yeah. And another thing, I had actually had a thought the other day, and then talked to Ray about it. Haven't talked to him yet about doing some sort of a trapper's holster system. Maybe it's some kind of platform that you could wear that would have trapper tools or trapper equipment. I don't know exactly how that would look, but I got some interesting ideas on that, and I know that kind of stuff is right up Ray's alley. So I'm sure we'll come up with some sort of solution at some point in time. Um, but anyway, uh, so I guess we'll talk about landowner permission. So landowner permission is probably like one of the biggest taboos, or I don't say taboo, but it's something I get asked a lot about when people say, what I tell them, I'm out hunting or I'm doing, these different things out in the woods, and they're like, man, I wish I could really get a place to go and hunt. And a lot of these folks are from Omaha, um, or larger cities and areas around, maybe they don't live around the farm ground territory like we do, or the smaller towns. But really, when it comes down to it, there's a ton of people out there who have permission to hunt on property that you probably wouldn't think have a lot of permission. And it really is on the individual person on how you approach landowners. Landowners are people just like anyone else, and the thing that people, I think, forget to realize is that you're asking somebody, potentially a complete stranger, to go do stuff on their property. And if you flip that around, on yourself, maybe you own a house in the suburbs. If somebody came up to you and they said, "Hey, man, you mind if I go play soccer in your backyard?" You'd probably be a little bit, hesitant. Like, well, what? Why would I do that? What's the liability? What could happen? So for you as a sportsman and an outdoorsman, it is your job to ensure that, or to put their mind at ease. I guess is what I'm trying to say. So whenever I approach a landowner or any potential landowner that I want to get permission on, I always try to figure out what they would want to hear, without lying to them, obviously, but figure out what they're going to want to hear and what they might need. Um, and you can get really, really creative with this, guys. I mean, I'm by no means like the master pro. I mean, I've been turned down way more than I've gotten places to hunt on. And I'll tell you, that's going to be the statistic for the majority of you out there. You're going to go and you're going to knock on doors, and not only are you going to get a no, but you're going to get a heck no. Get off my property. You're going to get people who, are very, very apprehensive and do not want you on your property. And you're probably, especially if you do it in the middle of or right before deer season or right before some sort of season, you're probably like the 10th or 11th person that's talked to them, especially if they have good property. So that's something that you kind of have to think of. And so what do you do to put yourself? It really is. It's a competition. It's a sport. How do you beat out all those other guys? And there's no magic bullet for it. No pun intended either. And that's so. I guess you go into the different styles or whatever you're gonna do. So back when I used to whitetail hunt a lot more. And when I was growing up, it was easier to get permission to hunt places. So the majority of the time when I'd go up to a big farm operation or a big farmer, I'd see an acreage or, timber line or creek line that I wanted to hunt, I would go over I'd knock on the farmer's door. He'd answer the door. I'd say, "Hey, my name's so-and-so. My dad is so-and-so, and I would like to, do some deer hunting on your property if that's okay with you." And most of the time the answer you got was, was heck yeah, go kill them all because they would eat up all the corn and they're causing the farmers issues. And to the farmers, it was more of a pest thing. Um, well, that changed over the last 10, 13 years, whatever. Um, and it really has gotten to a point now where a lot of these farmers are doing lease ground. There's more farmers probably hunting, and I don't even say more farmers hunting, but it just seems like the ground is a lot more scarce than it used to be. Particularly here in Nebraska. When I grew up in Iowa, it was pretty easy to get some ground. My dad still lives in Iowa, and he says, he's lost a lot of ground and a lot of, fishing rights over the years that were kind of won on a handshake back in the day. And now farmers are kind of more holding out an open hand, looking for a lease or looking for some cash. Um, and I'm not going to fault the farmers for trying to make a buck. Um, it sucks as being a sportsman, being an outdoorsman. It sucks. You want to hunt for free. You already spend thousands of bucks, on your gear, time, and everything else. And especially if you're a subsistence hunter like myself, there's no way you're going to pay a lease to go get 50 pounds of meat. It just doesn't make any sense. Um, so over the years, I moved out here to Nebraska. I kind of had to get some different tactics when it came to hunting. And so when it comes to whitetail, a lot of times being a subsistence hunter kind of actually helps a little bit. So one of the angles that I always push, because I don't shoot bucks anymore, I don't shoot any antlers or trophies, I go after does. So when I approach a landowner now, I many times I get success just by going up, knocking on the door, saying, "Hey, my name's Brandon. I want to, I was wondering if I could deer hunt. I'm a subsistence hunter, and all I do is hunt does. I was wondering if maybe you wouldn't mind me taking a doe or two off of your property this year, um, in any season or anything like that. Sometimes they may be a rifle hunter, or they may be a bow hunter, and they don't want you to be in there at the same time. Kind of show that willingness to be flexible to what they want to do. And I think a lot of guys and farmers who are really big into like QDMA, quality deer management. Um, Guys like that they understand the importance of taking the doe population down. Or maybe they have some bad genetic bucks in there, and they want you to take that population down. If you say you're just there to hunt for meat, you're not going to go in there and shoot their 10 pointers that they've been growing for 2-3 years, and feeding and all that kind of stuff. There's a chance that will work, and I know it's worked for me a time or two, with an assurance like don't just make sure you don't shoot any deer with horns, and I've always respected that. Um, so that's one of the tactics for deer hunting, and getting deer locations for sure. Um, and to kind of back up a little bit, when it comes to deer hunting or any kind of landowner rights or permissions, um, don't be a peckerhead when you go out in the woods. And what I mean by that is don't leave gates open, don't put ruts in their fields, don't drive out there when it's muddy, don't, go out there, drinking beer with your friends, don't go out there, doing something stupid, or potentially that could be construed as stupid. Something that may not bother one farmer may bother another. So always lean on the side of caution. And when you guys get your permissions, ask them. Say, hey, do you mind if I drive my truck in there or four wheeler? Or is there areas that you don't want me to go? Should I be aware of anything down there? Those are the things that are going to get you repeat permission every year instead of going out there one year, screwing everything up, and then, guys, I'll tell you out here where I live, um, words travels like wildfire, especially these old timers, and all these farmers. They all come out here and drink coffee at the same spot every day, and they talk. and they either going to talk good about a hunter or they're going to talk bad about a hunter. And they talk bad about a hunter, you can forget getting permission anywhere in that county. I guarantee it. You'll have to change your name and grow out a beard and call yourself Mike Honcho or something. So don't do it. Don't do anything stupid. It puts a black eye on all outdoorsmen when you do that kind of stupid stuff. Just know your limits. If you got a farmer that says, "Hey, go do whatever," yada yada, still use caution and at least give the effect that you're trying to do right by him in his land. Okay, so we covered a little bit of the deer hunting portion. So another way that I've kind of gotten wiggled into a couple spots, and this is where you kind of have to customize it and check out how people are in every scenario. Every farmer, every landowner, whatever, they're gonna have a need somewhere. They need something. I have done work for people before to get hunting rights. They might have a grain bin that needs shoveled out, or some firewood cut, or maybe some trees removed. Like I do. I do a ton of firewood and different stuff like that. I'm out in the woods cutting with a chainsaw pretty often in the fall. Um, there's a lot of situations you might drive by, check out the farmer's property, and see a bunch of trees falling over in their fields. Man, they hate that stuff. And if you can go in and say, "Hey, I got a chainsaw and a truck. I'll take out those trees if you let me deer hunt this year." It's kind of a tit for tat kind of, whatever, this or that. It works good in some situations. Find out. I know I've given, I guess that's probably doing favors for landowners. That's always a good thing. Helping them out. And just spending the time to sit and talk with those landowners. That means a huge amount as well. Don't just run up there and bang on the door. Man, I probably sat and talked to farmers for like 2-3 hours at a time and just picking their brain. And they might want to tell you about whatever they're doing and farming and hanging out, everything that's going on. So that gives you the opportunity to talk back and forth, and they realize that you're a human being, and that you just like to hunt, and you're really appreciative of their time. Don't treat them, don't get what you want and then just take off. Do the dialogue. That's where the relationships start. I tell you guys, I've got landowners, and I'm probably, some of them might even be watching this right now, and I can tell you, like, I've had the same landowners that I've hunted and trapped on for years, and they're the same guys that keep coming back, and I don't pay them any money. They know I'm not going to pay them any money, and they never ask me for it because I treat them with respect, and I treat the ground with respect. And if they need something, they know they can call me. So just a little, FYI, my experience on that. Okay. So yeah, you can do stuff. You can help out. Don't be a peckerhead. And so I'm gonna kind of turn corners a little bit, since with the deer hunting, it's a little harder because everybody wants to do it. Everybody's into deer hunting, I think, or pheasant or turkey. Just know, like I said, that it's the same kind of principles with a lot of stuff. Now, something that I have in my toolbox, so to speak, that I use to get hunting permissions that a lot of guys, and gals out there probably don't have, is the fact that I'm a trapper. And some of you might think, well, how the heck being a trapper gives you permission to hunt and fish and do other things? So you kind of have, like I said, you have to get creative with this stuff. And so what I've kind of developed is a certain sales pitch for landowners. And what I essentially do is I go out and I say, look, I will do some animal damage control work or ADC work in exchange for hunting privileges or more trapping privileges. So sometimes I've gone out to places and I've said, hey man, can I come out and deer hunt? And they're like, no, we deer hunt. And they have some pristine area, and then I'll ask them, well, can I trap? Oh yeah, yeah. What do you trap? I trap raccoons, and all those raccoons that they're getting into our feeders, and they're getting into this and blah blah blah, and the chickens, and just causing all kinds of problems, and then and that usually kind of sparks a little bit of a conversation in the fact that, well, I can handle the fur bearers, and I can take your predator population down, and do some ADC work for you. And that's when you kind of have that leverage point to say, well, what if I was to, help you guys out, or do that, and then maybe I can do a little deer hunting in exchange. This is a service that normally people would pay for, and pay quite a bit of money, especially on hunting ranches and stuff like that on the professional side. Um, this is a service that a lot of people would pay for. So why not, exchange the, for a little bit of hunting rights and privileges, and let me come in here and do my thing, and you benefit, I benefit. It's a perfect, symbiotic relationship. We'll go Star Wars on that. So that's a way that I've gotten in to some really, really cool territory. And it's kind of funny because people will ask, or they'll see me go down to some of these properties and hunt, and trap them and hunt them. How the heck did you get over there? And it's like, well, I was able to do some trapping for them, and they were really happy and grateful, and they let me come out and do some deer hunting, or squirrel hunting, or whatever I'm gonna do. Um, so it kind of turns some heads, and it gets people thinking, which is good. I want you guys to think, on that end. And so another big one on the ADC, on the trapping side. So a lot of these farmers and landowners, especially the big ones that have waterways in their area, for those of you who can figure out or already know how to beaver trap, you will be eons ahead of a lot of folks. I've had some folks contact me, and this is back, before I really did. And I'm not a beaver trapper hardly ever. I've been getting into it, and I don't know how many times I have asked people if I can trap coyotes and coons, thinking, I'm gonna get in that way with the predators, and they're like, I don't care about that crap. I got beavers damming up my creeks and flooding my fields, and I'm losing thousands of dollars. And they're like, I don't want to talk to you unless you know how to trap beaver. I know, and these guys will pay another trapper, a licensed trapper, to go out and trap these, beaver, and those guys, get money, and me, here I am. If I could just, get beaver trapping figured out, get good at it, and go out there and exchange a little bit of work for some hunting privileges, I bet you those farmers would be all over it. And so that's something I'm getting into as well. We don't have a huge beaver issue here in Nebraska, but it's enough to get people looking, get people noticing. So yeah, I really I think that's a very good way of getting into it, for sure. And it just opens a lot of doors and opportunities. Um, but yeah, um, so I kind of hope that helps out a little bit, gives you guys a few tips, a few pointers on getting into permission, and getting some land to hunt on. You don't have to just hunt public ground. Get out there and get some permissions. Um, and I'll tell you guys something too. Um, a lot of people seem to think that to hunt deer or turkey or whatever, to hunt, that you have to have the big, huge, pristine, you know, timbers and things like that. Guys, those areas are magnets for hunters. I mean, if you can get an exclusive area, that's fantastic. But it's been my experience that the stuff that looks really, really, really good, it's no longer any good because it is run through hard and it gets hunted hard and everybody wants on it. Um, I've had so much success getting on Google Maps, and this kind of is going to branch off in another area of this. When you guys go to get your permissions, you want to find land to hunt on. You can drive around and kind of hump the roads and waste a lot of time and gas, or you can sit at your desk and at your work or computer on your cell phone, Google Map stuff, print stuff off, look at where the county lines and the roads are, and find creek lines and funnels and small timbers, small patches um, that connect maybe to a larger timber and a field or something of that nature. Find those travel routes and get your permissions on those. And the way you can find out who owns what, because I know nowadays you have farmers that'll be 10 miles away and he'll own a patch over here and he'll own another 40 over here, or maybe it's owned by a co-op or a company. You can get on Google Maps, find out where that is, and then you can go to that local county and get a parcel and find out what the parcel number is. And the county can actually usually tell you who owns it, and then you can look them up on Google, or in the phone book, and you can actually find out where they live, get their address. You can call them on the phone if you want. Good luck with that, because you're probably going to get turned down. I would show up at their house and meet them face to face, and that's a good way to find those locations, to find those areas to hunt. Don't just focus on the big honeycomb portion of the of territories to hunt on. For some of you it might be kind of hard, like here in Nebraska you've got a couple big huge patches of timber in different locations, and most of those are going to be state parks, county, or private ground that's so locked in or leased up that you're just never going to touch it without shaking hands with the right guy. But what you can do is you can find those gravel routes, those creek lines that run in between two different locations where the deer are going to be bedding or where the deer are going to be feeding at night. You find that transition area. Those are the areas that you want to hit. You want to center your attention on those, because those are the easy places to get permission, or the easiest, because they're not going to get a lot of attention. A lot of guys are just going to look and go, well, that's just a creek, or that's just a fence line with some trees on it. Why would I need to even be concerned about that? What they don't realize is that early in the morning or late at night, those deer are moving through those areas, or coyotes, or whatever you're hunting. Get in on that. Another thing before I close here, when you go, so I've asked for permission at all different times of the week, all different times of the day, right? What seems to work the best are Sundays after church. So that's usually after lunch or so. Don't go in during lunch, because the farmer's gonna be sitting down having lunch maybe with his family. And go over there on a relaxed day. Show up. Don't look like death warmed over. Like, don't show up in your if you're a hunter, don't show up in blood stained, muddy, glopping boots, like you just got out of the tree stand with face paint on. Show up wearing something nice ish. You don't have to dress up in a tuxedo, but there's certain things that you can do to make your appearance look not so intimidating. Don't go rolling up, blaring music. Don't have a check on your breath. Those are things that you want to make sure that you kind of do. Just just put yourself in their shoes. What are they probably doing at that time? And if they're probably having personal time or they're busy, I would wait. Come back on a different time. But yeah, that's pretty much going to cover our topic today for landowner permissions. I didn't see too many people jump on, so you guys must all be busy or still at work or something. I don't know. Everything's been going pretty good around here on the home front. Just pounding away and working a lot of hours. And guys, the time that I do get out in the woods, I get about one day out of the week to do it. And honestly, the last thing, I say the last thing, but I don't really feel like holding the camera while I do it. So I am going to be doing some instructional videos on trapping. I'm gonna be doing some redos and based off of some new experiences and some training that I've had. I'm going to be sharing some other um, tips and tactics and different stuff to kind of fill up the summer and kind of get us into that area. Um, I don't know if we're going to get a whole lot of fishing done. We might try to film a little bit of that. I know I wanted to do some spear fishing this year. However, because of the crazy floods that we had, everything is quite literally just turned upside down if it's a body of water here. But the only thing that is normal is the Elkhorn and the Elkhorn River and maybe the Platte, finally. But as far as all the lakes and everything, it's all pretty jacked up around here. I'm gonna get to cleaning this handgun and cleaning up around here, and I will catch you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching, thanks for tuning in, and thanks for supporting the channel. If you get an opportunity, make sure you check out huntreadyholsters.com and use the promo code PEBBLE, and you guys will get 10% off, and you'll help support the channel. So, like always, I'm Brandon Storwell with Pebble Creek Outdoors, and thanks for watching.